It's WG, bring you SMB, and it's time we take on Restless Spirit 1. I now had enough days to be semi-confident in providing you a decent enough guide on what to do with these two guys. So for those of you wondering what happens with the bosses, it swaps daily. So number 1 is Blade of Garnelon with physical damage and a high magical resistance. And then the other day it is Sheila who deals primarily magic damage and then has high physical resistance, which means in general it is advised to bring physical damage dealers against this boss, and then for Sheila to bring magic damage dealers. Overall, once more, as soon as you unlock the boss, get whatever tier rewards you can. They are way better than the tier rewards from an earlier boss. So let's go into the fight, let's talk briefly about him. And then I'll obviously again give you like a tier list of units that work well, units that don't work as well, and then things you need to look out for, right? So number 1, this is the most annoying skill, and it happens twice per battle. The first time it happens is before the phase transition, and the second one is like at around 1 HP bar if you can burst him super fast, which we probably won't be able to do. Huh? That's just the reality of things. So he summons the fog, and in that fog he summons 2 golden wolves, and these are like elite wolves, and they summon even more wolves. So rather than focus on anything specific, you really want to kill those golden wolves. So that's where single target comes in, but you still need to kill the summons. So that's where AoE comes in. So you want to kind of have a mix between AoE and single target, preferably characters that can do like both. For example, we have a Lamia who can do single target, and then we have a Van Helsing who can do really good AoE, but his single target is also really high. Then we have this one where he just throws stones, so that's why we need a healer. The hypertension, so Clive outside of the summoning has 2 moves. Number 1, and he starts charging. If you let him charge, he gets a stack of hypertension. You let that thing happen 3 times and he's going to wipe you. Pretty much that's it. And then move number 2, he rams a sword into the ground, and then you need to destroy that sword, otherwise he's going to make the ground explode, also wiping you. So those are pretty much the moves, and then he just does basic damage. So now that we know kind of what we're looking at, let's get into the tier list. So now that we're all familiar with how the boss works, let's talk about units that are actually good in this boss. So Van Helsing, he is absolutely amazing because of the fact that he provides you with the ability to not only stop the boss from channeling, has the right damage type and physical damage, but he also has AoE, so he can deal with the wolf face, he can deal with the boss channeling, he can deal with the sword. Though the issue with the sword is for the second sword that the boss summons. So the first one is guaranteed after the phase transition. For the second one though, Van Helsing is most likely going to target the boss, so that's why you need someone else next to a Van Helsing that can preferably deal with the sword, otherwise it's going to wipe you. Then we have Acapella. Acapella, just the strongest buffer, extra healing, allows your blood soul recovery to go faster. Just good choice overall. Stereite Iona, just the best healer available for most of us. And also it does have the disadvantage of moving Van Helsing. On the other hand, Seth is the best healer available. If you have a Seth, you can run a Seth. Van Helsing is going to continuously fire. Then we also have Tihati. Tihati, best single target physical damage dealer outside of like at least in an equal battle between her and Van Helsing. She can work for pretty much everything. She can take out the summon leaders, the golden wolves, she can take out the sword, she can take out the charging phase, she can do damage. What more do you want, right? What more do you want? And then we also have Lamia. So even though it says the boss is more resistant to magic damage, you can still use Lamia, and not only do you still benefit from the talent during the Blood Moon where you heal, which is quite useful, you can also still use her ultimate as either single target when the boss charges up, or even the dual target when he rams the sword into the ground, because it just bounces between the sword and the boss. Transcendent Noah, I mean, he does physical damage, he has the AoE capabilities to help out during the moon, and he can also do decent single target damage if you sacrifice the summons. Darcias in synergy together with the TR Hearty, really good, also has self-sustain in the front lane, making the life of your healer easier. Gilrain, nice frontline unit, and also important, you can aim his ultimate, so you can use him to specifically deal with the sword getting stacked into the ground, so he's really good as like a base damage dealer. Ressa can work, her ultimate can become really cheap, and you can also then use her ultimate to either deal with the charging phase, deal with the swords, or deal with the golden summon units. Joanne, just massive basic attacks, the stuns, they do work on the golden units during the wolf phase. Good damage overall, nice AoE, just a good unit. Transcendent Amy, even though the boss does physical damage, she'll still be able to tank, she'll be able to save here. You'll, I guess, get the wave for technically the stun, but it's not as relevant. Hearty in the same category as Gilrain, and then like Augustine, you can, I guess, pull yourself to the sword, but he just does physical damage mostly. That's why here. We also have Triss you could use to deal with the boss charging, deal with the swords, or deal with the golden summons. So Triss might be sleeper pick. Nicole also quite useful, and especially with those early cost, low cost ultimates can be quite good. Edina, nice healer if you don't want to use Stereoid Iona or Seth, but yeah, and just a nice healer. And then you have Jester and Theophane if you do need a tank to tank the boss, because you have fighters for whatever reason aren't able to survive. And then we kind of have like the B-row, which is mostly AoE magic damage dealers or magic damage dealers in general that don't tend to perform as well here in comparison to physical damage dealers. Mass, she just suicides, doesn't do enough. Kayn, he's Kayn. Piera is indeed single target magic damage. And Selena, you know, Selena might actually work really well, but you would have to give it a shot yourself and see how she does. She is tricky to use, that is for sure. And that is mostly all the relevant characters for this fight. So let's actually get into a battle example. So the way we'll be doing this is in two versions. Number one is the version with which I was able to get to Fragment 9, so to fully clear the boss, which is with this team. And then I'll also be showing you a different team. Important, keep in mind the boss, if we go into the fight, the boss is actually level 120. And you do unlock him 12-8 and you're only expected to get to the next boss upon 15-8. So do not despair if you don't get a super high score. As long as you can make it, for example, to the second phase, get that fifth chest, fifth fragment, that is pretty much the sweet spot. Look at him, he's level 120 at minimum, so your unit should be like 120, 121, potentially even going as high as ours, which are closing in on 141 before you really even have a chance to like deal with the second phase. I do kind of feel like we're probably beating him a bit early, so we're not really expected to beat him with 9 fragments is kind of what I wanted to say. But yeah, mostly pay attention to what we're doing specifically when it comes to certain phases. But yeah, acapella, you can always trigger an acapella. It's just free rage, it's just free everything. And here we're just going to prepare for the Blood Moon. And here we hold. So there's two options. Number one, you just use Van Helsing early and just easily deal with the first phase. Or for us, for example, we're going to be using Lamia. So we just kind of wait for him and then we can use the single target again, get some more rage. And also, here, don't try to not bottom out on your resources, because you really always want to like be prepared for something weird that just happens, like for example him charging again or him summoning wolves or anything the like for example here he charges again, so we were able to deal with it with a Van Helsing. We're again moving towards the next Blood Moon, and it's probably not going to be such a fast phase transition for you, but it is for us. And what we want to do here is, you see these two wolves, right? These are the ones we talked about. You need to kill them. The faster you kill them, the less wolves you have to deal with, the faster you get out of this phase, and the more time you have left to deal with the boss. Because especially in the second fog phase, if you even survive it, you are probably going to be running out of time regardless. So it's always better to try to just get rid of these guys early and use any form of like single targeted damage if you can. If not, you kind of just have to hope that RNGesus is with you and Van Helsing targets the right guy, right? So overall, the less time you spend in there, the more time you'll be able to deal damage. Now, after the phase transition, there's a couple things that happen, but it is pretty much scripted that he is going to stick a sword into the ground, which means you want to go out of the fog phase with enough to at least cast some type of like emergency ability or have Van Helsing still active. If Van Helsing is still active, it is a very high chance for him to target the sword. Unfortunately, it's not a 100% chance. So right here, we were able to deal with all these phases. And then again, here we're kind of in like saving mode to prepare for the eventual sword that is going to come down. Or even like another charging phase or the like. So you see we're kind of low on blood. We do want to keep our abilities here. We'll be able to deal with this with just Van Helsing. And there we go. So this sword is annoying as hell. You see how Van Helsing doesn't even target it, and that's one of the reasons why we have Lamia here to avoid a wipe in that situation. And here it's again the same situation, the same way to clear it. You really want to focus these golden units. The faster you can kill the golden units, the faster you'll be out of here. And it really is kind of a kill chamber to a degree, so the faster you can leave this, the less likely you're also to get wiped. So then once again here, we're kind of nearing the end of this fight, luckily for us. Once again another sword, which is why it's always important to have your blood. Like pay attention to your blood and make sure you have enough blood resources to deal with this boss as a whole. And this is kind of how a full clear looks like. Now let me just show you how it would look probably more realistic to get like a Fragment 5 run or the like. Alright, now as a second run example, we have Gehring, we have Ressa, and we have a Van Helsing. So a team without Lamia, more focused around the concept of the physical damage. And this start is, you could say, even easier. Like, you don't really have to do too much besides getting your acapella ready, making sure you pull everybody back so you can then, with the next ability, move into the Blood Moon and then just use your Van Helsing. And your Van Helsing should be able to pretty much deal with the single target phases by himself. You can continuously generate some more rage and mostly hold off on your abilities up until the point that you know that you're going to need them. So once more right here, we can use another Van Helsing, get into another combo, and then also, for example, use Ressa for single target damage. Like, making it to Fragment 5 really isn't that hard, and that is also kind of where your goal should lie. So try to pine for a Fragment 5. You just need to make it into the fog phase. That's all you need for Fragment 5. And you're going to have the chance at getting really good gear, because starting from Fragment 5 you can get faction-based tier 7 gear. And then, yeah, you see we obviously do struggle a bit more here. And we even missed that Ressa ability. So not the best of showcases by any means. But then again, we again have a Van Helsing ready after the ultimate. Hopefully with a couple stacks. And then you see he is actually retargeting the sword. So we don't have to worry too much about that sword. And then here we can, I guess, use these units just to get through this phase. Once more, get a Capella ready, get our Van Helsing ready. But yeah, keep in mind this Van Helsing is not going to be able to help you with another sword phase. So specifically the second or third sword, you have to be really careful with that one, because it's just not something that's going to get targeted. Here you could have, for example, used another ult. We didn't need to, so here we can then use our Gehring. You see, it's not really doing a whole lot. This thing is pretty fucking tanky. And if this went through, you saw how it did actually went through. We're kind of wiped, right? And then for bar 1, or the last bar, this is kind of when he then starts transitioning into the fog, and especially if you, yeah, and then like that's the difference. Like, make it to the second, so make it to phase transition, or yeah, clear the fog, you get 5 fragments. Clear the sword, make it to the second fog, you get 8 fragments, and then beat the fog and you can make it towards 9 fragments. So hope that helped.